Hey guys, we're going to get started now. I'm going to be letting some people into the room. George is going to start. This is going to be recorded as well, so we're going to be putting it on YouTube. As a lot of you guys know, we have a couple different YouTube channels. One is Soto. I do a lot of tutorial stuff. Majority of you guys that are on right now are agents and brokers of the financial architects, but I'm encouraging you guys to start your own YouTube channels and just sharing tutorials, because I think it's really easy to just share a video and say, hey, press play. And after 3-4 minutes, they get kind of like the juice of the information, and 80% of their questions are already answered. So if you don't have a YouTube channel and you want to keep going back to the Ice Age, you might as well pick up like 8-track tapes and do the whole CD thing. I'm kidding, of course, but I think it's important that you have your own YouTube channel. So that's the message that I'm trying to get across to you guys. So George, take it away, my bro.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody's Tuesday?
You're on mute.
No, he's not.
No, he's not. Sorry.
Why are you scaring me, dude? How's everybody doing? Awesome. Natalie,
Awesome.
Erica, Jamie,
Hey.
Deepak.
A eso no hay que ponerle un repollito.
Hola. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get started now. My name is Jorge Hernandez, also known as George. I am a managing partner with the Financial Architects. I have the honor of being the MC this evening. And if you're not prepared yet, please take this time to grab a notepad and something to write with. Everybody here is in for a treat. We are going to be hearing from our fearless leader this evening. I just want to get into something a little bit here. I met Manny in 2004, I believe it was. From the day I've met him, he's become one of my closest friends, my brother. Like, he calls me, or we call each other compas. When I was laid off from the law firm, the first person I called was my wife. The second person I called was this gentleman, Manny Soto. I called him to let him know that I would not be able to continue with the amount I was investing into my investments and insurance products. And Manny took me aside, broke down the business for me. And because of him, I'm now in this industry 16 years. Manny is somebody that I respect, I honor, and I admire. I trust Manny as much as I trust my own family. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mr. Manny Soto.
All right. Thank you so much, George, for that introduction. Hopefully everyone is acclimated to Zoom nowadays. I know that there's some settings that you could automatically mute yourself when going into these different Zoom meetings. So if you haven't learned that already, in the bottom left-hand corner is a mute button. I've already had to mute 3 of you guys who are still not acclimated to Zoom. One stock that I do regret not buying right when the market fell. But at any rate, I met George, gosh, almost 20 years ago. I'm aging myself now. And when I originally met him, he's one of these really intelligent, cool guys. And I say that because, you know, I always call myself the same thing. You know, I'm one of those cool, smart guys, right? And George was very similar to myself in that he's very well read. He loves people. He loves his family. His wife, Vivian, is freaking awesome. And his kids are super cool. But it's just such a blessing to be in business with guys like that. George won't tell you that George is going to be collabing with me in this particular Zoom because he is a registered rep that has a securities license, and he can kind of he knows more than I do on the financial services side as it is. But thank you so much for that introduction, bro. So I'm going to be talking about a couple different things. Number one, I'd like you to write this in your notes if you could, please. Actually, a majority of the stuff that I do speak on, it is going to be, like I said previously, inside of our YouTube channel. So if you punch in Manny Soto or you punch in the financial architects, we do have YouTubes on a lot of this subject matter that we're about to get involved into. I'm going to be touching upon your fees inside of your investment plans. I'm also going to be touching upon taxes, as well as cost of insurance in something called a LIRP plan. LIRP stands for Life Insurance Retirement Plan. At the tail end, I'm going to go through that. If you have any questions whatsoever, I'd like you to type them into the message box, because I'm not going to be paying attention to the message box, but George is, and he's going to be interrupting me as time goes on. Not to mention, this is going to be recorded, and I am going to be putting it into the YouTube that we currently have. So if you missed some of it or you weren't paying attention, yeah, pay attention, take some copious notes, but we still have the access and operation where we can get the video for you at your fingertips. So let's get started. I'm going to be sharing my screen on and off, but write this in your notes if you could, please. You already wrote down Manny Soto. You already wrote down the financial architects. If you could jot down our website. Our website is T as in Tom, F as in Frank, A as in Apple, TFA Insurance Advisors.com. So if you'd like to go and visit one of our nearby locations, recently we just opened another office in Torrance. Actually, he gets his furniture tomorrow, so I'm going to be going and visiting him next week sometime. But our offices are blowing up right now organically. We just franchised as a company. So there's a lot of real estate groups that are looking over our disclosure documents right now, as I even do this Zoom, to put in an insurance and retirement planning operation within the real estate group. So exciting stuff. We have about 15, 16 offices that are live right now. And then we have one office in Oregon. So the brokers and the agents that are on this Zoom call, they're just as educated as a lot of us, or two of us, me and George, I should say. So all the information, if you were invited by one of those brokers or agents, please feel free to reach out to them directly. Okay, let's get started. So I'm going to share my screen right now, and my fearless assistant set me up on this. So if I get mind boggled, blame her, not me. All right, just kidding that. All right, so question number one, what do you mean my investments have fees? A lot of people think my 401k, what do you mean it has investment fees? My mutual fund, you mean I'm paying extra? My stock portfolio, what's the deal? I'm going to be going through that, but to begin, the financial architects, we're a brokerage company. So what we do is not necessarily unique. It's just the products and services that we offer are very unique. The way that we do it is very unique. So some of the companies that you might have heard of before, Prudential, AIG, Pacific Life, I'm sure that you've heard of companies like Merrill Lynch Strategies and PIMCO Strategies. So the mission statement of our company is, when companies compete, you win, yes, but the mission is to educate and empower. So if you're taking notes, to educate and empower. I grew up poor to middle class. My mom didn't have $50 to put away a month. I was a latchkey kid. And I really wish that somebody would have taken me to the side and said, hey, Manny, let me show you what a mutual fund is, or let me show you how compound interest works. And unfortunately, in a lot of quote unquote investment professionals' eyes, we're broke. And they don't want to talk to us because there's not enough commission involved in speaking with the greater Main Street, so to say. So what we essentially try and do is we bring Main Street to Wall Street. Meaning not Wall Street directly on a lot of occasions, but Wall Street as an option. So right here, this one-piece brochure kind of explains a lot of different specifics inside of it on some of the companies we offer. So you've heard of a lot of those companies. So even if you Google the financial architects and read all of our great reviews, where we have 5 stars currently on Yelp, it's not to say we're never going to have a bad review. I'm waiting for the bad review, but currently we're doing phenomenally, and we have lots of different great opinions of several different people inside of the company or exterior of the company that are clients of ours. Okay, so I'm jumping into the content. You have several options of investments. There's stocks, there's bonds, there's mutual funds, index funds, IRAs, Roth IRAs, managed investment accounts, annuities, cryptocurrency now recently, gold, real estate. There's a bunch of different options of investments. So if I were to explain stock to you, stock is very simple. And those of you that, half of you guys that are on this Zoom, you know what a stock is. It's ownership inside of the company. You know what a bond is. It's a debt security, kind of like a loan. Let me borrow some money for a 2% rate. But mixing those two together creates a mutual fund. So to explain what a mutual fund is, if I told you guys, hey, let's go buy some gas, we have a choice. We got Union 76, we got Arco, we got Mobile, we got a bunch of different options to go and fill up our gasoline. Let's say I invested 5% of my money inside of Shell. And then I go and buy some Nikes and I throw another 5% of my money into Nike. And then let's say I go and invest into Starbucks. I mean, Starbucks has revolutionized the way that coffee's been distributed, right? That was probably a good investment 20 plus years ago, but now it's more of a blue chip stock, right? So these are all called diversifications of my portfolio. So if I buy stock in several different stock investments, now it becomes a mutual fund. Okay. So Natalie is on social media taking a recording of me, you guys. So don't trip, potato chip. All right. So recently, to talk a little bit more about index funds. Index funds float with an index. So if you've ever heard of the S&P 500, that is an index. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, that's an index. The Hang Seng, the Russell 2000, these are all examples of an index. IRAs, that's self-explanatory. I'm going to get into that in a second. But what an IRA is, if you guys are beaners like I am, Latinos, let's say you have a burrito. The tortilla is the IRA, right? And then you got the mutual fund inside of that burrito. You got the rice and the beans and the sour cream and cilantro. That is your investment option inside of that IRA. So let me go back on me for a sec. So if I had, let's just say, a hypothetical of, exit out of there. So if I had, there's people that are chiming in that, but you're not seeing them. So if I had, let's say, an option to invest into an IRA, and I want to put Tesla inside of my IRA, and Tesla goes out of business, or they get beat out by NIO, or they have some other company that takes over as the go-to in EV. Now, if I lost 30%, I'm literally losing 30% of my portfolio. It's very dangerous. So diversifying your portfolio is very important, right? There's fees involved in diversifying your portfolio. There's no free lunch, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to have to pay a fee, unfortunately. So if I have a stock in a bond and I put them together in a mutual fund, and now I have my IRA that's there, and the mutual fund is funding the IRA, I can also fund it with a CD if I don't want risk. I can also fund it with, let's say nowadays there's cryptocurrency IRAs, which is pretty crazy. And then there's specific derivatives of investment going into your IRA. So I will get through what the rules of the IRA are, and then fees internally inside of those, okay? So let me share again. All right, managed investment accounts. Here's what I mean by managed investment accounts. Managed investment accounts are for more of the well-to-do clients, meaning they've got over $100,000 of cash and they give it to an investment advisor. that investment advisor gets paid based on that amount of money. Normally, the fee is roughly about 2%. So every single year, let's say you have $100,000, every year, $2,000 is going towards that investment advisor in fees. If you have $1 million, you know what 2% of $1 million is. Exactly. So you're paying the price to get that expert advice. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. Annuities is another option. Cryptocurrency. You guys have all heard of Bitcoin and Litecoin and Ethereum. More recently, Dogecoin. Some of you guys that are well read. Cryptocurrency is crazy. To give you an explanation of what cryptocurrency, I'll go back on me, is if you think about back in the 1800s or the 18th century, you walked into, let's just say the Westerners, you remember these Western movies, you walked in, they threw you a piece of gold or silver and they exchanged it for a beer, or they traded a lot, right? They exchanged a hat for a sweater, or they started building credit at a local store. So fiat currency is, this is fiat currency, right? So it's money that now is backed up by our US government, right? It's said that 40% of the money in circulation right now was printed up within the past 12 months. Crazy, right? So back in the year 1800, back in the 1800s and 19th century and 18th century, our currency was a lot different. Did you guys know that it took 100 years to get acceptable fiat currency, the paper money that I just shared with you? It took another 40 years just to get credit acceptable by people. You don't remember this because we're all younger. So you walk in and you go, hey, I got some fiat currency, I got some cash. People wouldn't even accept it back in the old days. They'd go, bump that, I'm not going to accept that. Give me some gold or give me some trading ability, etc. But now it's very acceptable, right? Took 40 years for credit to be acceptable. In 2009, cryptocurrency came on the scene. It's also called internet money. So cryptocurrency is pretty crazy. It's up and coming. And if you bought in when a lot of us bought in, you would be a happy man or woman right now. All right. Again, any questions, put it in the chat bar. George is going to cut me off at some point in time after the next slide. Almost done here. Gold, real estate, everything has a fee with respect to the investment option. Again, there's no free rent. So if you give an investment advisor some money, there's going to be fees, there's going to be taxes, there's going to be cost of insurance, there's going to be a lot of different specifics that we're about to jump into. All right. Next slide. So if you're taking notes or if you'd like to take a picture of this, go for it. Here's some questions to ask yourself. Question number one, what's my expectation of the investment? Now, if you look in red, I put ROI. ROI stands for return on investment. So I'll give you an example. I'll use George as the example. I don't know if you guys know this or not. I hope he doesn't mind that I'm sharing this, but George has got close to $1 million in his life insurance policy that I set him up with in 2004. Pretty strong, right? Because George said, I don't want a lot of risk. I want set it and forget it, and I want the index returns. He's gotten north of 9% returns inside of his life insurance policy with no risk. Using myself as an example, I have Bitcoin, I have cryptocurrency. So my returns have been very strong, but am I going to pay taxes on those returns? Whereas George is not, because he's in a life insurance policy and he's making money on top of money. And at some point in time, he could pull it out whenever he'd like to, income tax free, and give it off to his heirs income tax free, which I'll get into in a second. I'm jumping it forward. Mutual funds. If you're in a mutual fund portfolio, you know that you have to pay capital gains taxes, which I'll get into in a second as well. All right. So what is my expectation of the investment? The rate of interest. So if, I'll talk about this for a second. If I'm in a CD, a certificate of deposit at my local bank, and I'm getting a 1% guarantee, the G word, guarantee on my CD, and I know that inflation is at the rate of 3.5%, 4%, I'm actually losing money by putting it into the bank at a 1% rate. I have fixed returns, I have guarantees, but my risk is called inflation risk. So my expectation is that I just want 1% guarantee in my CD. So let's say I earmark that for that one specific. If I put my money into a mutual fund and I see that it's an aggressive mutual fund, my expectation is I'm going to get anywhere between 7 to 10% rate of return in this aggressive mutual fund. But then my expectation is a little bit different later on. Okay. IRAs, my expectation is this. So you have to be absolutely clear on what your expectations are in the rate of interest that you're getting on whatever investment you're into. Okay. Going back to the slide. All right. Question number 2. When am I planning on taking distributions? Time. When am I planning on taking distributions? In a second, I'm going to go through the 3 tax boxes and I'm going to go through the rules of your IRA. And some of you are going to be very shocked to find out some of those rules. So question number 2 is really a question for you guys. When am I planning on taking distributions? Number 3, what are my tax penalties on the ROI? You see in red, I put ST. ST stands for short-term capital gains taxes, if you're taking notes. And then LT stands for long-term capital gains taxes. So question number 3, what are my tax penalties on the ROI? Let me take this off share for a second. If I'm in a stock portfolio on E-Trade and I'm making a rate of return hand over fist, there's no free lunch. If I pull out my gains within 1 year, 12 months, that's called a short-term capital gain tax. I'm going to be paying north of 20% capital gains in my short-term capital gains tax, okay? In long-term capital gains, I'm going to be paying north of 15%. Long-term capital gains is over 1 year. So if I've put in my investments and I'm making a lot of money inside of my portfolio, I'm going to be a victim of long-term capital gains. Caveat. I'm not going to get political yet, but we got 3 different things that are happening right now. All right. Again, if you're taking notes, this is stuff that you really, really want to dive into and even Google. Number 1 is our baby boomer population. It's about 81 million Americans that are all going to retire, as well as go through health challenges. Number 2 is Social Security. I know a lot of my agents are already saying it's starting to be called social insecurity. And then number 3 is our U.S. debt. Our U.S. debt is out of control, close to $30 trillion. I just posted a TikTok on, I know it sounds weird to say, but I just posted a TikTok with Nayeli and Erica, and we're going through these different rules. And one of the majors is our debt. In 2008, our debt was 8 trillion. Today, it's 28 trillion. Would that give you the impression that taxes are rising a little bit or a lot? You could finish my sentence for me if you'd like. Taxes are going up. So again, who cares whether it's going to be short-term or long-term capital gains? You're going to pay taxes. I have a client of mine. Her husband's one of these real smart guys that Googles and goes and does crunches numbers, does all this stuff, right? He's got a little spreadsheet going on. And this year, actually in 2020, their capital gains were about $2 million. What's the long-term capital gains on $2 million and they're not older. They're about in their late 30s. They're just starting out. You imagine what the long-term capital gain is going to be on this big bucket of money. So do they need to hedge that? Absolutely. But me, I just sit back like a fat rat in a cheese factory, just chilling, because I don't want to make people look dumb. I just want to share the information, and then they decide on which path is right for them. I'm going to make my recommendation, but a lot of the times these clients are swayed by different publication. So getting off on a tangent just a little bit more, you should be aware of some of the stuff that's happening right now. We're looking forward to over 40% capital gains taxes. And Yellen is even talking about making it already where you don't even need to realize your capital gains, and they're going to tax you on your capital gains. That's scary, okay? So get in the know. All right, enough with that soap dish. Let me share again. All right, and then lastly is number 4, what's my exit strategy, and is there risk involved? This is where life expectancy comes into play. Okay, so question number 4 is, what is my exit strategy? With respect to exit strategies, if you're taking notes, which you should be, the average male passes away at 78. The average female passes at 81. So that's why I put life expectancy right there, because senior citizens have 2 buckets. They have live on money, where they're going to be living in retirement, and then they have leave behind money. The leave behind money is normally the bucket that they want the most tax efficient planning possible. It's no longer do I get a client that's 72 in my office and he or she goes, hey, did I make a 10% on my stock portfolio? No, they're asking, how do I give this off to my heirs instead of my non-favorite uncle, Uncle Sam? And that's a big question for them to get involved into, okay? So question number 4 is pretty big. If I know that my life expectancy is going up, by the way, because we're all living longer, then I want to anticipate that so that I can overcome that in the future, all right? So let me explain. You know, I talked about the baby boomers where they're all going to retire and unfortunately go through health challenges. Did you know the last 2 years of a senior citizen's life, majority, well, not a majority, but factually, it is the most expensive healthcare wise than what was it? 60, it's like 60% of our healthcare is spent on the last 2 years of a senior citizen's life. That's crazy, isn't it? So medical costs are going up. Baby boomers are just now turning 65 and 66 and 67. So our health challenge is going to get bigger. And now, who do you think is going to pay for it? You guessed it. We're still getting people on the Zoom. It's 7:30 and people are still chiming in. All right. Set an alarm. All right. So that's a pretty big fact, right? So in the future, like I'm 47 young years old, right? I still try and recapture my youth, by the way, but I'm 47 years old. So if I live to be 92, I need to anticipate that cash flow up until I'm 92 years old. So exit strategy is super important, along with my medical challenges that I could be going through at that particular age, okay? So those 4 questions are very, very important. If you have any questions, again, go through the chat bar and ask George those questions. He'll definitely interrupt me as time goes on. All right. So those are the 4 questions. If you're taking pictures, again, go ahead and take a picture of that slide. If not, this is going to be recorded. All right. Next slide. Rule of 72. You guys like the Albert Einstein bottom left-hand corner? Is that cool or what? If you're not familiar with the rule of 72, I have a great YouTube on this where I'm talking about compound interest and how it's the eighth wonder of the world and mankind's greatest invention for the amassing of wealth. So that's what Albert Einstein called it. He called it the eighth wonder. Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world and mankind's greatest invention for the amassing of wealth. If you're not putting your money into an investment plan that is earning an interest rate north of 3% to 4%, outpacing inflation, you're going to be in some really deep problems. It's either you're going to take advantage of compound interest, or compound interest is going to take advantage of you. So very, very important that you understand that. All right, let's go through it. The rule of 72 says this: whatever rate of return you're getting on your money, you're going to divide that into 72. Let me grab a pen for a second. Actually, I'll do a little bullet point. I'll throw a heart right there. So let's just say, I'll use Erica as the example because she's here in the office. Erica, get off of mute for a second. So Erica decides to put $10,000 into a 4% guaranteed bond fund, hypothetically speaking, okay? She's 29 years old. She's a little bit younger than that, but let's just use 29 years old. And she's got $10,000. She divides 4% into 72, and that is 18. So that means that every 18 years, her money is going to double. So to overview, if Erica's got $10,000, she gets a 4% rate of return, she's going to have her $10,000 double every 18 years. So follow me on this. I'm going to take these hearts off and I'm just going to grab a pen. I think a pen would be better. So when Erica turns 47 here, that $10,000 has doubled into $20,000. When Erica turns 65, that $20,000 has doubled into $40,000. Kind of cool, right? So Erica says to herself, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's awesome. I get $40,000 on a 4% rate of return. I go, congratulations. You've just kept up with inflation. Okay. I know, depressing. So let's say Erica gets a 12% rate of return. 72 divided by 12 is 6. So that would mean that every 6 years her money is going to double. So if Erica puts $10,000 into her investment and she gets a 12% rate of return, she would have $640,000 by the time she's 65 young years old. Cool, right? Again, if you do not utilize this compound interest, they're going to make you a victim of that. Erica was off of mute. She was all ready to participate, and I just totally ignored her, right? Erica, which option would you like better, $40,000 or $640,000?
640.
We got a winner, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Next slide. Thank you so much, Erica. I appreciate you participating. You will be involved in the raffle at the end of, I'm just kidding. All right. Let me just move this over here. Next slide. Oops. All right. So let's say I've invested my money. Okay. I've invested, I'll stop sharing this for a second. So I've invested my $10,000 into a compound interest vehicle, which is a stock portfolio, real estate, cryptocurrency, an IRA, whatever. And now I have $640,000. Okay. Now I say to myself, taxes are a big challenge now. How do I overcome this big challenge in the future? Okay. So I can either pay taxes now, later, or never. Exempt, right? So this is the 3 tax boxes that I will go through for the next 5 minutes. And if you're taking notes, this is exactly how it goes. We'll grab a pen. let's just say I were to put my money into this bucket. If I put it in a mutual fund or a stock portfolio, I am paying taxes on the realized capital gains. If it's short-term or long-term, depending on the amount of return, I'm going to be paying taxes on it. Majority of people have taxes later inside of their IRAs. Now, the IRA has a 59.5-72 rule. Here's what the government says. Government says, let me get off of this for a second. Government says this: we love you so much, we're not going to make you pay taxes now. We're going to wait to make you pay taxes. So if we were to all be investors and we want to start this big apple orchard, we want to go down to the liquor store, pick up some penny seeds, they're pennies on the dollar, plant them into our soil, and at the end of the rainbow, it turns into this multi-million-dollar apple orchard. Would you rather pay taxes on the penny seeds that are cheaper or the multi-million-dollar apple orchard that's more? Correct. The seeds. But if you're getting a match in your 401k, it totally makes sense to take advantage of the match. It's free money, okay? But anything excess, you're going to be paid taxes later on a bigger amount. And I just talked about those three big challenges in the future: baby boomers, Social Security, and our US debt. And knowing that taxes are rising, whether it be a little bit or a lot, wouldn't it make better sense that you have control over your taxes versus no control over your taxes? Okay. So almost done with this, and then we're going to get into these fee-fees. All right. And then lastly, you have this option here to invest into non-taxable buckets of money, which are 529 plans, municipal bonds, cash value life insurance plans, or Roth IRAs. What you're doing is you're paying the taxes now on gross to net, but you're not paying the taxes later on the big harvest, okay? You guys like these slides? I spent like hours and hours going through this stuff. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, so here's how it works. If I took $100 and I put it into my 401k every single month, I now have to pay a fee for putting my money in there. If I put $100 into a mutual fund, let's say, I know that there's a sales load involved in that transfer of money. So if my sales load is 5%, I'm paying $5 for every $100 that I put into my account. If the stock market loses, I lose a percentage of my money on top of whatever the fee was. And some people go, that can't be true. I challenge you to go to your 401k company tomorrow, or go to your IRA company, Roth IRA company. Ask them, what are my fees? Here's the question that you're asking, though, not just what are my fees, because if you ask that, there's like 15 different fees inside of these plans. You have to ask, what's my total fees? I know there's an investment advisory fee. I know there's a something called a administrative fee, which is code for we need to hire some people to inbound your phone calls from an 800 number. There's management fees. There's 12B1 fees. There's class A, B, or C share fees. There's several different fees internally inside of these various different investment plans. Then the secondary question that I just got through overviewing is, what are your short-term tax ramifications? And what are your long-term tax ramifications? Okay. And then last question, if you do something called a tax-free retirement strategy, your biggest question is, what are my costs of insurance? Okay, before I get into that. All right. So I stretched upon these different fees inside of the plan. Even in E-Trade, you guys, if you haven't noticed, I have an E-Trade myself, and I don't even look at the fees myself because I'm doing some pretty good ROI. but E-Trade has different fees than like a Robinhood or a Webull. E-Trade has different publication versus a Robinhood or a Webull. They have different articles that come out, et cetera, et cetera. By the way, Coinbase has a pretty strong, well, I think it's going to be strong. IPO coming up April 14th, if you want to look into that. Okay. Oh, I won't get on my soapdish. All right. So going back to the slides, I'm almost done. All right, lastly, you guys like these little pictures, isn't that cute? What's best, taxes long-term or cost of insurance? Now, I'm going to use a guinea pig on here. You don't have to show your face, even though Deepak looks super sexy on this. Let's see, let's choose somebody. All you have to do is unmute yourself, okay? I think Natalie and Eric are sending DMs to each other. They're always joking and stuff. I want to be part of it. Tammy, would you mind if I use you as a guinea pig?
Go ahead.
Awesome. Very nice to meet you, Tammy. Thank you so much for participating. I'm going to put you into a long-term, what we call a tax-free retirement strategy, okay? And this is just an option. You don't have to take advantage of the option. I'm not gonna like close you, take your Social Security or down or anything like that. Would you mind giving up your date of birth, Tammy?
The year or the whole?
The whole shebang.
2268.
2268. Okay, cool. So I'm on my staff's laptop, you guys, sorry. I'm gonna log in here. Bear with me because this is gonna take a little bit. I promise it's worth it. All right. So Tammy, do you have children, if you don't mind me asking?
Yes,
Awesome. How many kids?
4.
Sweet. I'm gonna call you Tammy Client, okay? You don't even have to give me your last name. And I'm gonna put in your date of birth here, 2/2/1968. And I'm gonna guess that you're in great health. You don't smoke, right, Tammy?
No.
Good girl. And I'm gonna share with the crew just how I designed this plan. And I'm gonna put here that you're gonna be saving $500 a month, okay? Tammy's like, wait, that's my $500, man, don't be tripping. So Tammy, you're gonna put into the account $500 a month, and you're going to be distributing that long-term income tax-free, okay?
Okay.
I'm also going to share the fees right here, which if, I know I got to click the window. If you guys are doing business with anybody, don't be shy to ask people about fees. I think fees are important. It's up there with oxygen. I mean, why would you do business with anybody that is afraid to share fees with you? I think that's not too smart. All right, Tammy. So in this puzzle piece, you see here in the left-hand side, it says, if you die prematurely, you meet your maker early, you have a death benefit. I'm gonna draw on this, okay? You pass prematurely, you get a death benefit. It's a $180,000 death benefit. We're not utilizing it for that though. If you become ill, meaning you have a heart attack, stroke, cancer, the big three. We're going to give you a benefit as well. And if you live too long, you made it to the finish line. This plan has a pension plan where you get guaranteed income, very similar to an annuity. Okay, Tammy?
Okay,
Do you have any questions so far?
nope, just trying to keep up.
Okay. If I go too fast, let me know so that I can slow it down for you. All right. I'm going to go through the cash for a second, and then I'm going to come back to the living benefits. So this cash has two different categories. One category is going to be at a 3% guarantee, and the other category is going to be at an indexed return, which is close to 6%. I'm going to draw that out right now in a pen so that you can see it. So follow along with me. Tammy, 1 year from now, you're 53 young years old. You see that?
Uh-huh.
You're putting in $500 a month, which is $6,000 a year. You see that? You have an option where you can put the money in at a 3% guaranteed rate, or historical performance of indexing here. You see that? You follow me so far, Tammy?
A little bit.
Okay, I'm going to go through the first line with you. At age 53, you see this red line I'm drawing?
Yes.
You put in $6,000 a year. I want you to follow this category right here that I just circled. See that?
Yes.
The very first year you put in 6,000 minus fees, you have an account value of 49.41. You follow me?
I have to move you over. You were on the other
Okay.
part of the screen. Okay, go ahead. I see.
I got you. If you were to pass away, your family gets $185,000 plus the amount of money that you've been putting into it, which is 49.41. So total, if you passed, your family gets 189,000 and some change.
In 1 year's time?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wow.
So your account value is $4,900. Your death benefit is $189,000. And what you'll see in a second is that your $500 is going to continue to grow with the index, and the fee for insurance is going to be pretty constant, which I'll go through in a second. Now, let's say your goal, I'm going to erase all these drawings. Let's say your goal is by the time you're, I'm trying to scroll up. Hold up. By the time you're 75, or I'll even do 72, that we could see the long term. By the time you're 75, you want to hang it up. Oops, I'm grabbing a pen. Hold on. I'm just going to create a heart right now. All right, so 20 years later, you see the heart?
Yes.
You're in the index. And 20 years later, you have $177,000 in cash. You see that?
Yes.
If you were to pass away 20 years from now, you have $348,000 that would go to your heirs.
Wow.
So if you wanted to, in the next 20 years, you could tap into any of this money, income tax free, without an interest rate after 10 years. Does that make sense so far?
After 10 years, I can, or I can tap
question.
into it, use it?
Good question. Let me go back. So I'm going to go to my cursor. So let's just say at the end of 3 years, I'll do a 3-year estimation. 3 years, you're 55. You have cash value of $15,524. You see that?
Yes.
if you wanted to, you could pull out 90% of that tax-free at roughly 0.5% interest rate, 50
Wow.
basis points. Yes, ma'am. So if you had an option, and I'll stop sharing for a second so that I could share with you my pockets. Who do you bank with today, Tam?
Wells Fargo and the credit
Okay.
union. Well, Wells Fargo.
Okay, me too. So I want you to pay attention to my left hand. You're going to invest $500 into Wells Fargo in this left hand. What's the rate of return that you're getting at your bank at Wells Fargo?
I don't even really pay attention. I live paycheck to paycheck. Don't really have an investment.
It's very close to 0%. In your left pocket, right here, this left hand, you know, you're putting $500 a month into this Wells Fargo bucket. If you had a heart attack, stroke, or cancer, how much money does Wells Fargo give you above the amount of money you've been depositing in this bucket?
Oh, pennies probably.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Zero.
Yeah.
So you get a 0% rate at Wells Fargo. You get a 0% living benefit rate. And God forbid you pass away prematurely, the bank is going to give you only the money that you put into it, not the amount of money that is bonused to you. So you get 0, 0, and then 0. I know, strong, right? In this right hand, Tammy, you're going to get index returns, which have averaged anywhere between 5 to 8%. In the right hand, if you had a heart attack, stroke, or cancer, this investment is going to give you the amount of money that you had inside of it, plus a benefit. In the right hand, if you were to pass away, your family gets income tax-free, the amount of money that you put into it, plus a death benefit.
Wow.
After reviewing both options, where would you like to put your $500? In the bank or in this investment?
The investment.
Absolutely. But here's the challenge. Here's what everyone is saying to themselves, because I was one of those people. George was one of those people, by the way, 16 years ago when I met him. And a lot of the people that are on this Zoom call were all those people before they went out and go, you know what? I just never knew this information. It almost seems too good to be true. That is true, by the way, because there's fees involved into this plan, which I'll go through in a second, okay? So going back to the illustration, if after 3 years you have $15,000 accessible to you, but how old is your youngest, Tammy?
20.
Awesome. So let's say when your youngest is 30, now you have 62,000 and you want to do a flip. You want to flip a property, or you want to take advantage of economics and buy at a low, whatever the case may be. You can tap into 90% of the cash value in here, tax-free and interest-free.
Wow, that's amazing.
Pretty cool, right? By the
Yes.
way, guys, this is not staged. I don't know Tammy from the guy next door my office, okay? But I will in a second. All right, so if you look long-term, Tammy, if you wanted to have this as a supplemental retirement plan at age, hypothetically speaking, 72, you see how you have 177,000 in cash?
Yes.
So now you have options. Now, one thing I want to share with you guys, because we're running low on time, is fees. So Tammy's goal is in the next 20 years, she wants to have the opportunity not to work anymore. She has received that year, this is the fee table, by the way. So she has received that year an interest credit of $9,400. You guys see that? The policy charges are $2,447. So the total amount of gains is about $90,000. You see that where I'm circling it?
Uh-huh.
Now, the fees, keep in mind, $2,400. if you want to jot that down. The gains are 89. We'll round them to 90,000. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Let's say long-term capital gains go to 20%. I'm not even saying crazy amounts, but let's just say they go to 20%. What's 20% of $90,000? Anybody? All right, forget you guys. It's $18,000. So would you rather pay $18,000 for capital gains taxes, or would you rather pay $2,400 for Tammy's cost of insurance?
Low.
Cost
No
of
brainer,
insurance.
right? So again, we talked about a bunch of different things. Number one was investment return. Number two was short-term and long-term capital gains. And number three was cost of insurance. Now, as a caveat, again, because I'm running low on time, I want to show Tammy one last thing. So Tammy, did you know that 39% of people in the United States, I'm looking for my slide. Did you know that 39% of people in the United States will have cancer in their lifetime?
I believe that.
Unfortunately, don't get me on a soap dish about this, but we eat horribly. They've said, and this is recent publication, 70% of all health challenges are caused by obesity. And we are the cause. We eat like shit, straight up. And you could blame it on society, but it's very well known now, and we all need to get better in that category of life. Matter of fact, let me just stop sharing this for a second. I want to talk about that for a second. Think about it for a minute. I've seen guys, and I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. So I've seen people die from eating like shit. They lived in retirement for 2 years. They ate like crap. They made tons of money. But now at the tail end, they're trying to get back their health with all of their wealth. That makes no sense to me. So imagine building up your whole retirement strategy, and then you got to give it away to doctors and specific medicine and research and all these different things, only to lose the battle after a certain period of time. It's important that we not just take care of our wealth, but take care of our health, ladies and gents. Okay. All right. Soap dish done. So in this scenario that I'm going to share with you, knowing that cancer is a runaway train right now, I want to be proactive and not reactive. So this same plan, Tammy, has something called critical illness attached to it. Here's what that means. If you had category 2, moderate stroke, you see there where you have $60,000?
Yes.
If you had a category 2 moderate stroke, you can't use the left side of your body, you're definitely not going to work anytime soon. You can pull out almost $61,000 from this life insurance policy. And you don't have to die to use it.
You don't have to pay it back either?
Say again?
You don't have to pay it back either? It's yours?
Good question. No, you do not have to pay it back either. You see how the benefit gets richer as you get older?
Yes.
At 65, here's your benefits. Let's say you had a category 3 severe cancer, stage 3 cancer, let's just say, knock on wood. You can pull $183,000 income tax free if that were to go down, and you do not have to die to use it. That's a critical injury plan attached to the life insurance policy, attached to a pension plan. Kind of cool, right?
Yes.
Last, but definitely not least, this particular plan also has chronic illness. Chronic illness is very similar to, well, I'll just ask I'll just tell you guys a little bit more about chronic illness. Chronic illness is horrible. If you lose 2 of your 6 ADLs, which stands for activity of daily
I'm
living.
listening to something. I can't hear you.
Say again?
No, I'm sorry. I got interrupted.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
So, Tammy, a chronic illness is if you lose 2 of your 6 ADLs, activity of daily living. So if you lost the ability to bathe yourself, transport yourself, or even have yourself eat, which is things that we take for granted. At age 60, if that were to happen, you can have a monthly benefit of $3,026 for about 50 months straight.
Oh, wow. That's on top of cashing out some of that benefit down there that you were showing us, where there was not something that you had to return, borrow on. So that you can take out plus a monthly benefit.
That's exactly correct. So it can be 3 things on the puzzle. Remember the puzzle piece? If you die prematurely, your family gets X. The illustration I made for you was $185,000 of death benefit. So if you die prematurely, your family gets 185 grand plus the amount of money that you've been putting into the account. If you have a chronic or critical illness, heart attack, stroke, cancer, the big 3 that we're always thinking about, but not to mention blindness, ALS, things that are real that could happen, you can grab a portion of the money on a critical basis or chronic basis. And then lastly, it also has a pension plan attached to this tax-free retirement plan where you can grab your money income tax-free as distribution in a retirement position. So it's a robust program. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of specifics internally, and I normally go through a lot more than I've gone through here. But in the battle of time, I'm 4 minutes over. Does anybody have any questions with respect to these different slides? Terrific. I did a terrific job. All right, everybody have a nice night. I'm just kidding. So to end the TFA Tuesday, we do this.
Excuse me.
Yes,
Excuse
ma'am,
me.
Maria.
I'm sorry. Nice to meet you, by the way. My name is
Hi,
Maria.
Maria.
I don't look very presentable right now, so I joined in kind of late. But
okay.
my question is, so you're saying that it is tax free even after the first year? Throughout all the years that you have this, it is tax free if you have to pull it out? And then what about if, okay, let's say that you pass, the death benefit is also tax free for my family?
Yes, ma'am. So let's say hypothetically you're putting in $500 a month into this plan. The reason why, and I know that you showed up late, so I'm going to go through this again. The reason why it's tax free is because you took from your gross paycheck, you got paid net. You've already paid taxes on that small amount of money, penny seeds. You grab the $500, you put it into post-tax dollars, you put it into your index plan, it grows exponentially. And let's say you wanted to grab some of the money after the first year, you can take 90% of your surrender value, absolutely, tax-free.
Okay.
If you died prematurely, you have a death benefit on top of the amount of money that you've been putting into it, and that would go to your heirs income tax-free as well.
Okay. All right. Sounds so good to be true.
No, like I tell everybody, because I normally close with that. I say, look, it probably sounds too good to be true. And you're asking yourself, why doesn't everybody know about this? Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because education. If I were to yell fire, and my assistant's standing behind the camera, by the way, I go fire, and I run that direction, guess where my assistant's going? She's following me. So when people go, get a 401k, it's awesome, it's incredible, it's so awesome. Pay off your house. It's the best thing ever. You know, we start thinking about this stuff and go, wow, that'd be great. But we never stop to go, why? Why would I pay off my house? It's my biggest tax write-off. And if I paid it off and an earthquake happens, I'd be screwed. Why would I want to do that? Why do I put it in my 401k? they're going to tax me later on a bigger amount. But
Mhm.
again, we never stop to smell the roses, because if you're anything like I used to be, I researched my summer vacations more than I did my own retirement accounts. And I was putting some pretty good money in my 401k previous to me doing what I'm doing now.
Mhm.
And I never stopped to go, wait, how come, what are the fees? What are my taxes now? What are my taxes later? You know, why is that? You know, what are my options? So,
Well, I would
great
like to
question,
know
Maria. I really
exactly-
like that question, by the way.
I would like to know more about the fees and exactly where all that money would go, but I know it would take another few more hours maybe to explain, correct? But
Yeah,
that's
who invited you to this TFA Tuesday?
Damiano?
Oh, great. Damiano's awesome at this stuff. He knows what he's doing. I've known Damiano for like 15 years as well, as long as George.
Okay.
Crazy. Yeah, Damiano's a stud. He knows what he's doing. Anybody else have any questions?
Thank you.
Absolutely, anytime, Mrs. Aguila. All right, George, you want to close this out?
Yes, sir. You know, it was funny right now when Miss Aguirre said that sounds too good to be true. That's the thing that everybody tells me when I present them with that product. No, that's too good to be true. How come nobody has ever told me before? Just like when you came to my house, Manny, you know, in 2004, and you showed me, you compared the plan that I had at the time to what you're asking me to take a look at and take your advice on. But you know, the numbers don't lie, and that's what I tell everybody. Well, I'd like to thank all of you for attending this evening and being a part of this. And I'd like to thank Manny. Manny, as always, man, great job, on point. Like I told you guys earlier, Manny knows what he's doing, and there's nobody that I trust more than Manny when it comes to finances. So if you guys have any questions, any thoughts, any concerns, please feel free to reach out to that person that invited you, and they'll be more than happy to assist you. With that said, buenas noches.
Thank you.
Buenas noches.
Thank you.